Problem. Okay, so we are just past 6 o'clock and I am now calling the open session to order. We do have a report from closed session. Council unanimously moved to pursue litigation on the pending case. Further details will come out as time progresses. At this time, we will go ahead and move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. With that being said, we will go to a new roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Lemon.
Here.
Councilmember Ackerman.
Present.
Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Mendoza.
Present.
Mayor Burris.
Present. All right, with that, can we get a motion to approve the agenda order?
I move that we approve the agenda order. Second.
All right, can I get a roll call on that, please?
Councilmember Ackerman.
Aye.
Councilmember Lemon.
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mendoza.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. All right, we will move to the consent calendar. Matters on the consent calendar are routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with the council vote. No discussion of these items ensues unless a specific item is pulled for discussion by separate action. If you have an item you would like to have pulled, now is the time and we can pull it for conversation. Would anybody like to pull anything from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Lemon.
Aye.
Councilmember Ackerman.
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mendoza.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Okay, we'll move to agency reports, starting with Placer County Sheriff's Department.
Mrs. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, my name is John Tanneromi. I'm a deputy with the Placer County Sheriff's Office. So this isn't from last month's stats, but we did have an officer-involved shooting last night. The suspect was pronounced dead at scene. All of our officers are okay, and the rest is under investigation. So that's all we have for that right now. The next thing that's not from last month was another Greyhound decided they wanted to crash into the Bolero.
Yeah.
That accident is under investigation, but Greyhound was obviously is going to be found at fault for that because the Bolero was stationary. So, okay. So some statistics for December. In the city, we had 167 incidents overall. 19 reports were drafted. 15 of those incidents were transients or caused by transients or involved transients. We had 12 suspicious circumstances calls, 10 disturbances, 13 alarms, and 24 traffic stops. In that same time period in the county, we had 3,655 incidents, 453 reports were drafted. 362 of those were transient related. 277 suspicious circumstances calls, 227 disturbances, 327 alarms, and 482 traffic stops. And the reason I bring that up is because the Colfax car, while our primary responsibility is this city, we respond to cover the surrounding beats. So the overall county stats play into what your Colfax deputy does. And sometimes why the car's not in town is because even though the stats in town don't look like we're super busy, the county is super busy. And when you don't see the car here, it's because they're helping out a partner in a neighboring beat. Okay, the last thing I want to address, the weather's been crummy, which is great. We need rain. Please tell your friends and your neighbors, if you see signs or you see a tree down or you see power lines down, follow the direction of the sign, right? If you see something that says flooded, don't drive into it. If you see a sign that says road closed. It's there for a reason. The county roads is inundated with work. We're inundated with work. Our partners with CAL FIRE and CHP are inundated with work because of these storms, trying to maintain these roadways and create safe conditions for people. So if the motoring public applies a little bit of common sense and follows the rules instead of trying to get around road closures or around a downed tree or around some downed wires or disregards a sign, it could become something where crews that are working to make conditions safe for everybody else now get pulled and they have to rescue someone because they were impatient. So just keep that in mind. Follow the directions of the signs. Don't drive into water and so on. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you. CHP.
Hi, good evening, Council. Officer Jason Lyman, Gold Run CHP, taking over for the great Chris Nave. What we've obviously, the biggest thing has been the weather for us as well. Had lots of snow and rain, lots of road closures. The freeway was closed for nearly 24 hours yesterday, and it's opened back up. But there's so much snow, and all the drains are all plugged up because they're all buried under the snow. And so there's lots of roadway flooding, and Caltrans is out there doing their very best they can to try to keep up with this, but this weather has been relentless on them, and they're, like I say, they're trying to do their very best they can to keep up with this. Another note, as the deputy said here, the signs, like chain control, for instance, when we do have chain control set up wherever the location is, people please need to proceed to that location and stop when you get to the chain control camper. They will be, checking to see if you're all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, making sure your vehicle is properly equipped to continue. There's a lot of people tend to, especially people that do have four-wheel drives, they want to just, well, I have four-wheel drive, so I'm just going through. I'm not going to stop. And we've had numerous close calls with Caltrans employees nearly getting run over. And, also near the chain control camper, there's obviously lots of people putting on their chains. They're a lot of times are not pulling well off onto the shoulder. They're parking in the middle of the road, and they're just laying down on the ground trying to put on their chains. People are not paying attention, and we've had some very close calls. Today, there was a big accident up by Alta that had numerous cars involved, and several big rigs were also involved in it. And one person, another big rig driver that was pulled over on the shoulder, putting her chains on in a proper spot. Thankfully, she was paying attention and was able to run out of the way just before she would have gotten hit. And again, like he said, be patient. Please don't try to go around any of the signs or try to use Google Maps or anything to, I'm going to take a side road, because the side roads are worse than the highway is. And it's just going to, if you get stuck or going to crash or something, that draws all the equipment away from the main highway, which takes away from everybody else. And so again, just please be patient, be respectful of other people's stuff, and try to just plan your trip accordingly. Does anybody have any questions?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, CAL FIRE.
Madam Mayor, council members, my name is Bob Counts, Assistant Chief with CAL FIRE, Placer County Fire Department for the East Division. I wanted to take a few minutes before Chief Lovelace gives his report to talk about our flood response and other preparations we put in place for that. So as you all know, this latest series of storms started around the first of the year. And at first it was, we had a lot of activity down in the lower valley areas with water rescues, mostly cars trying to drive through flooded areas. So very busy. We put a lot of preparations in place to mitigate the impacts of the storm. including last week, the County of Placer proclaimed a local emergency, and it was ratified by the Board of Supervisors yesterday. We've opened the Emergency Operations Center at Placer County to Level 2 status. We have a Placer County Fire Battalion Chief, Chief Ryan Wessner, who's embedded in the EOC every day to act as that liaison for the fire rescue resources throughout the county. The Sheriff's Department also has a sergeant assigned. It's kind of a three-pronged approach with OES and Fire and Law Branch to make sure all the bases are covered. So that's exciting to see that happening, the collaboration that's happening there, and it's moving forward. We've upstaffed a lot of our resources throughout the county to help mitigate some of the impacts of the storm. All of our crews have been upstaffed. All of our extra personnel at our camps have been formed together into SAW teams to go out and help clear roads and stuff like that. 2 of our hand crews have been mission tasked by the state directly to Placer County to help with the impacts of the storm. And they've been busy the last few days, primarily opening up roads, down trees, stuff like that. We've upstaffed our technical rescue team for Placer County Fire. That includes 5 members per day for flood or any type of technical rescue that may happen. And we also have our heavy equipment operators are staffing a skid steer for any snow removal needs that might happen. So really feel like we're tremendously prepared for this winter storm, and we're here for any of the needs of the county and the city. So, and I'll turn it over to Chief Lovelace.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Jeff Lovelace, Battalion Chief for CAL FIRE, Placer County Fire Department. As we heard some of the information of what we have with our EOC, I'll kind of transition this to a little bit more operational, starting with some of the statistics and then going into some of the recent events that happened that were probably public and you guys were all informed of in some of the situations. So I'll kind of go through a little bit on that and really just thanking the City Council and specifically Martin for the efforts on one of them specifically. So going to, because we're at the end of the year, I have 2 slides for you. One is going to be the December statistics that's up there for your viewing right now. And then after this, I'll go through this fairly quickly. We'll go to the annual of where we're at for some of the statistic numbers. So really in December, a lot of it was status quo on the numbers that we had. So they're normal numbers. The one that did increase, and of course that was due to some of the weather and activity and travel, was our traffic collisions. As you see, that one was a increase significant with some of the events that did take place. Along with that, some of the medical aids, kind of our normal, but with the weather and the change and things happening. So really when it comes down to, that's some of our basic numbers that we have broken down in the schedule itself. So Station 30 ran 72 calls total. Station 36 ran 48, and that is, or Company 36, that is the in the city itself. With the response of 13, which is 27%. I will say, even though that does seem like a lower number, that's a quarter of our response are paid. A quarter of those calls that we go to, our volunteers are going to also, not being paid and just doing it the kindness of their heart. So, and that doesn't include some of the training aspects that they do, which are twice monthly. So, so those numbers, though they look low, are really big numbers, and I appreciate our staff for those. If we can change the slide, please. We'll go to the year. I added a few things there for you on the bottom. So again, this is the same graph that you had, but just running over a full year. As you see, like normal years, our medical aids are usually increased, especially in Colfax itself, just generally. But you see the stats themselves with the vegetation fire structures, again, about status quo or normal response numbers wise. But the overall itself a little bit higher this year than previous years. One of the things, those 2 graphs that you have on or pie graphs, charts that you have on the bottom, is the equipment response. And I thought this was good to mention along with the incident response. And this is specifically for Company 36 or in the city itself. city's response. So it's kind of hard to tell, but it's really, you have the bottom on that left-hand chart, you'll have the bottom, which is blue, and then the top left is green. Those are going to be Utility 98 and then Rescue 36. The majority of our response, and I can't see the numbers unfortunately, but the majority of the response are from both of those equipment, with Engine 36 also tied in to pretty much fill in the whole gap. For the incident response themselves, again, as you kind of can guess it, was your medical aids is one of the big, and that's really just due to the bigger numbers. But really where the volunteers excel is the additional manpower and response and technical capabilities and equipment that shows up on some of these rescues, structure fires, and a few things like that. So I just wanted to share this information as this is going into a new year, and just to hopefully everybody gets an understanding of the numbers themselves.
What is the other? The gray area on the right chart, what is other?
Other is other fires. So
Okay.
other type fires, that's going to be maybe your, garbage can fire or something, something like that. Or debris fire. I'll go to two incidents. And before I mention this one, Martin, I really appreciate everything that you did on that, including the council itself. I wasn't there myself, but my partner did a solid job on the bus into the gas station. So the response came through. Luckily, I say luckily, but there wasn't a significant damage to the folks, and they were able to get treated quickly with a quick response. But really where I guess I give Colfax City itself the kudos is the ability to house these folks that had no place to stay. And you did it here in the city hall. So for organizing that, I just really appreciate everybody's efforts for that and taking care of the public. I think that stands out. The other incident just happened about 3 hours ago. Just got back from it. It was and really why I want to mention this one is just the organization and the leadership at that higher level with the coordination of resources to some of these incidents. We had a structure fire just at Shady Glen, like I said, 3 hours ago, which was a heavy smoke and fire on a single-story resident with folks unknown if they're in or out. Luckily, our response from Station 30 was able to get there fairly quickly. And they both showed up at the same time with clear direction as they went in there. They confirmed that there were no folks in there, and got everybody out and started doing a primary, which is taking a look around, making sure everything is good. They got the seat of the fire, started putting water on it. The process took a long time due to some of where the heat was, but overall, there were several entities there. There was not only CAL FIRE, Placer County Fire Department, there was Sheriff's Office was there, seen for evacuations with houses next to CHP. You had AMR that showed up. You had Placer Hills. So several different agencies were able to show up to all mitigate one thing. And I think that's just a testament to some of the leadership, not just here, but in the county itself. So other than that, I did want to mention where we're at on Rescue 36. So Rescue 36, I want this back quickly. Unfortunately, some things are out of our hands. We've been making contact and pushing, but unfortunately, the box that I was told and the date that I was given, the box wasn't square. So we want the equipment correct before we take that back and receive it. So the company that we're going through has now redid the box, painted it yesterday, and their expected time that they should get it is the 17th of this month. Again, I don't want to give hard dates. This will happen because it's sometime out of our control, but that's where we're at. Other than that, I just want to finish with generally some of the safety topics as I usually do, and it's similar to CHP and Sheriff's Office. A lot of these incidents that we're getting are from the roads. Please just watch it. Please tell people in the public, please watch your driving. End of report.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Do you have any questions from council? Thank you. Yeah, if you want to ask a question, could you come up though? I just want to make sure the public can hear it as well.
I was just wondering how somebody becomes a volunteer.
There is not somebody. So to answer what he asked was how to become a volunteer. So we just in the county, updated some of the status on how the procedure to go through it. Really what it is talk to some of the guys here, including myself or one of the station captains, and we will get you in contact with the application that's online. The online will go through full reviews of everything that we're held to the standard as paid and volunteer. And then they will basically go through it to make sure everything is up to date. If there's training that is needed, there's some work that we can do to make that. And there's different levels of training that we can apply for response or, support. And there's different roles that we can go through. So if you have anybody interested, please, they can send me an email or a phone call, which I can give you that contact, or stop at Station 30 right down the way. We'll give you good direction.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go ahead and take that public comment on the agency reports really quick, and then we'll move to the nonprofits. Sorry, really quick. Sorry, John came back up.
Sorry, I talked to Martin before the meeting and I should have brought it up in here. He was here till after 1 a.m. He opened the building up. He had everything ready. It was like having another deputy up here. It was great. Fantastic response and effort from him. So sorry, I should have waited and talked about it in front of everybody, but we had a little powwow before the meeting. But thank you, Martin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we'll take that public comment real quick.
Tom Parnham states, shout out to CAL FIRE for their quick response last night, helping my neighbor who was in distress. Their professionalism is invaluable to our community.
Wonderful. All right, do we have any of our local nonprofits here this evening who'd like to give a report? All right, come on up.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm Andy Giannini. I'm the superintendent at Colfax Elementary School District. A lot of great things happening at Colfax Elementary, as always. We had new board members join our board, 3 new members. Our new members are Jonathan Bryant, Melody Easton, and Jessica Lohman. They're joining our returning board members, who are Melissa Kinsey and John James. And Melissa Kinsey is going to serve as our president. And our board is already hard at work. They are coming in on Saturday from 9 to 1 this Saturday to work on goals, to do a goal workshop, kind of set direction and vision for the organization. Our staff has also been working really hard. This has been an exciting week because we put together some more enrichment clubs. Our winter club session has started. And so we have staff, and we also contracted with the Art Council, Placer Art Council, to bring in some artists to provide some clubs after school. So we have graphic art that we're providing to the kids. And we're also providing sewing, drama, chess, yoga. So there's a lot of different after school opportunities for our students right after class, which is a lot of fun. We also started an intervention block. We're really trying to fill the gap. Some students have developed gaps in their reading or their math. And so we're doing extra time during the week, 3 days a week, where staff's meeting with kids in smaller groups to reteach concepts so that they become more fluent readers. They can comprehend at a higher level so that they're ready to move on to the next grade. And that started this week also. We're currently hiring. So if you're interested, we're looking for substitute teachers. So if you have a bachelor's degree, it doesn't have to be a bachelor's degree in education. It could be a bachelor's degree, just a bachelor's degree. Contact us, fill out an application online. It's pretty decent pay, $180 a day to come and sub in our district. Our kids and our staff would love it. We're also looking for sub-custodians. So if you'd like to come work and be a sub-custodian, fill out an application online. Our new student enrollment, we opened it up this Monday. So if you have a student who is 4 years old, all the way up to 8th grade age, we're looking for new students. So particularly, TK, preschool, kindergarten age, this is the time to come in, fill out that enrollment. It helps not only ensure you get into a class, your student gets into a class, but helps us with our staffing as we move forward throughout the year. We got a new website. Go online. It's Colfax. We're still updating it. It's going to get even better. But the whole goal of having a new website is to provide more current information, more readily, more accessible to our families. Also to give our staff more access and more voice. So there's a way that our staff can actually contribute now to the website, and they can kind of share the exciting things that are happening in the classrooms for the general public. It automatically updates Facebook, and we also have an Instagram account now too. So please follow us in all those different ways, and you'll really be up to speed on what's happening in Colfax L. And then last but not least, we have a winter dance this Friday. We invited a couple of the middle schools, neighborhood middle school. Chicago Park's coming, Alta's coming. I just wanted to let you know there's an invitation open to our sheriff's department and our CHP and even CAL FIRE. You can come chaperone that dance with us. It's from 6 to 8. I'm just letting you guys know right now. Okay. We'd love to see you. All right. I'll be there. I'll be there chaperoning. I'd love to see all of you there. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Yeah.
I have a comment for the gentleman that was just speaking, the guy that's at Colfax Elementary School now. I would just like to say I'm really excited about this structure, and that you are here making a report. Makes me feel really good to have the community involvement that's going on now with Colfax Elementary as far as coming into our podium here. Thank you.
Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the same thing. Thank you so much for everything you've been doing at the school. It's an amazing turnaround on just complete night and day difference there. And thank you so much for taking your time to do this. It's great to get the updates and have that extra involvement with the community and the school.
Ditto. And nice to meet you. And it is good to get representation just from schools in the community. So thank you.
Well,
On the note of enrollment, we should be able to help you guys out with the billboard.
nice.
So let's get an email chain going with city manager. And then we also want to follow up with you on finalizing details for the city and county officials dinner being hosted at the school for this quarter.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that being said, we do not have any presentations this evening. We do, though, have a public hearing. So we will go ahead and get started on item 6A. We're going to start with a presentation from staff on the ordinance amending Colfax Municipal Code Title 15.
I think I'm staff for this one.
You are.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an ordinance that the city is required to adopt. Began with Assembly Bill 1236 in 2015. We saw it back then, and there was some ambiguity in the bill, and thought, well, it probably doesn't apply. Legislature decided it was going to plug all the holes, and so it adopted AB 970 last year and said this law applies to all cities. What does it do? It requires the city to adopt expedited procedures for approving electric vehicle charging stations and a checklist to go along with that. And the way it works is if somebody comes in and submits an application, a complete application for an electric vehicle charging station that meets all the requirements of your checklist, you must administratively approve the permit. It takes the discretion away from the city unless you can point to specific facts that show it will have an adverse impact on health or safety. And so basically what's happening is the legislature is telling you, you must do this. You have no discretion. There are time limits by law on the amount of time you had to review, depending upon the number of stations being applied for. If city staff does not review the completed application in time, it's deemed approved. If city staff doesn't say within a specific amount of time that the application is incomplete, it's deemed to be complete. The legislature has decided they're going to require you to push through electric vehicle charging station applications. There's a really interesting aspect of this too. I think the subject of parking is just just right in the legislature's crosshairs. Because they're saying if on an existing development, if somebody comes in and submits a completed application, and approving that application will require them to lose parking places, that's too bad. You have to then lower the requirement for the number of parking places to accommodate the electric vehicle parking station. It used to be smaller cities were either exempt or had a little more leeway to work with things like this. not anymore. That they just seem to lump all the cities together, charter cities, general law cities, small city, doesn't matter. So what staff is asking tonight is for the public hearing to be opened, take public testimony if there is any, close the public hearing, introduce the ordinance by title only, waive the first reading and put it over for adoption at the next meeting. It will be on the consent calendar at the next meeting.
All right, thank you, Mick. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and we will accept public testimony. Does anybody have any public comment they would like to provide on this item? Anything online, Marguerite?
Nothing online.
Okay, come on up.
Just a quick question about that. Can the city profit from those electric charging stations since they have like a planner and engineer? Can't you guys like be involved in revenue for the city, or do you have to let some outside company that has a monopoly on the charging stations come in and just give nothing? Are you gonna?
It's really a good question. The city's not entitled to profit on anything really. You can only offset your costs.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, so if nothing has popped up online and we don't have anything else in person, oh, come on up, Jim.
Hi, Jim Dion, 233 Highway 174. Mayor, council, couple things I'd like to hit on. One is this is our 20th year in business.
This isn't the main public comment. Sorry, this is on the public hearing item.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. But don't worry, that's next. So if no one else has snuck in at the last minute. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Bring it back to council for discussion and action. As everyone knows, this in no way whatsoever changes PG&E's application and review process that every single applicant will have to go through. So this will effectively not change what we do whatsoever. We are just required to adopt this ordinance. It is what it is.
That's correct.
So, any discussion? All right, well, in that case, we can go ahead and move to some action. To make it easy, we can go ahead and adopt staff's recommendation if someone would like to motion that.
Motion, we adopt staff's recommendation.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Lohman,
Aye.
Councilmember Douglas,
Yeah.
Councilmember Ackerman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mendoza,
Hi.
Mayor Burris.
Aye.
Something different.
All right, thank you very much. So that concludes that. And now we are in public comment. Jim, you want to come on up? Kim, did you vote no on that?
Okay, again, like I was saying, this is our 20th year in business in Colfax, and I imagine we're going to have a couple of celebrations to honor that. But in the years that I've been coming here, I got to tell you, I look at you four people right here, and you love this city as much as I do. And I feel so comfortable, not just because of my business, but I think that you're going to really do some things to improve the city. There's a lot going on, and it's all on you guys' shoulders. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. And I think my son does a lot of the homework on the laws that are in effect right now and the problems that we've had in the past. So I'm not even going to touch on that, but I would like to say that they've only found two things that have been harmful in the use of cannabis. The first one is the short-term memory loss. And the second one is, well, I don't remember what the second one is. It's a very long one.
I didn't do that.
Thank you, Jim. Excellent.
Thank you for that, Jim. I think you just made everybody's night. Do we have any additional public comment at this time?
Good evening. I'd just like to preface this by saying that this is pre-storm commentary.
Okay.
We were planning to talk about this in December, but, and with that, I'd also like to say, you all have been working very hard to keep us safe. I know that because I live very close to Cal Fire off of Iowa Hill Road. And you can almost set the clock by how many times that trucks are going out. And so thank you. Thank you for your services. Couple questions. Who in the city management directs or is in charge of the city yard and the personnel? Who is that ultimate authority?
So that's kind of a joint question, but really the primary contact here is Martin Jones.
Okay. Oh, if I can meet you after, wonderful. Okay. How are the road repairs dispatched, discovered, etc.? How does that happen?
Do you want to come on up so you can have, he'll stand with you so he's got access to the mic. I could give you an answer, but it won't be as good.
So essentially at this point in time, during the winter months when we had the rains, a lot of the road repairs are done almost like on a triage basis. So we're going out, we're trying to get to a lot of those potholes as quick as we can. As the city manager explained on our previous meeting, we will hopefully be getting our funding here soon so we can start addressing some of the larger stretches of roads. And we're looking into additional grants to do some of the frontage roads also. Okay. So
that answers that part. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Have you all seen the bridge conditions? The upper and the lower bridges that go over I-80? I've lived here since '86. And I can't think of a time when I really seen any real work done by Caltrans on that. And from what I understand from Caltrans, I'll digress for a moment to another incident. On 174, right where, between AR-17's location and the old pizza place, there's a joining of the highway. And there is on the out of town side, there's a pothole that's been there for a year. Now, or more actually. Now, what's interesting about that, Caltrans drives over that every day. And so finally, one day I took the opportunity, there was an actual person outside of the Caltrans yard there on 174. And so I thought, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to go ask the question. And I got quite an education. I was told that, yes, they knew about it, but they cannot address it unless somebody calls in and tells on high, and then it's dispatched to low. Even if they have all the equipment on the truck at the moment and they could fix it like that. Now, if that isn't the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, I've run a lot of businesses. That's the exact opposite of empowerment. So with that being said, apparently a low-level person like myself, when I call Caltrans Authority and they ask you to leave your name and number and they'll call you back, well, I think my birthday is going to come in February before they call because I called them in November. So what I'm saying is that the city, the burden apparently is on the city to go, hey, Caltrans, you get money from us. Would you please come put the paint back on the upper bridge? And for all the idiots that come up from the Bay Area and don't know where they're going, you can't hardly even see where to stop, where to turn, etc. on both ends. It's a disaster. And trying to dodge the potholes that have been there for a couple of years now on both sides. The sign, when you come off the freeway eastbound, that we have the nice rectangular sign with the new fancy writing that you can barely read because it's so small. As you're coming off at 50 miles an hour, you're supposed to know where to go. Apparently nobody's noticed that the wind has spun the sign. It's now pointing downtown at the Chevron station. And I bring these things up because I've run business and I know that you have to make communication to your customers clear and easy. And if somebody doesn't, apparently, like what Caltrans told me, if somebody doesn't say something, it doesn't get done. And I don't want to be the bad guy. I'm really not wanting to be the bad guy. Believe me, there's other things I'd like to do than be standing here saying this stuff. But nothing changes if nothing changes. And I understand that the city is trying to get grants to fix the roads. They needed to be fixed when I moved here in '87. Canyon Way is a disaster. I don't know who, if it's a toss of the coin to who's responsible for that. But Iowa Hill Road, which is on the way to Caltrans, have you noticed how many potholes you're trying to dodge between the Indian Cemetery and Fowler Avenue where you come on? There's 6. 6. Started out with 1 before the storm. Now we're up to 6. Is that the county's responsibility? Is that the city's responsibility? Is it anybody's responsibility?
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead, Wes.
I apologize, Madam Mayor. This is Wes, City Manager. Point taken, we will reach out to Caltrans on the potholes on the bridges and the 174 and clarification, Iowa Hill is the county's roadway, and we'll reach out to them as well.
Well, on behalf of all the residents of Suburban Pines, we thank you. And again, thank you all for all your emergency service works. I mean, I know you're maxed. I know you are. So that's why I made sure I said this is pre-storm commentary.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
It's still appreciated. You brought up a really good point that a lot of these roads should have been done a long time ago. And that really significantly contributes to the massive mountain that we're trying to overcome at this point with funding, because if the proper maintenance had been done from the start, we would not be in the situation we're in now. So hopefully we can fix things and start doing it right going forward. Exactly. Exactly.
I have some folders I would like to pass out to you guys just real quickly.
Please.
Thanks, Tim.
And then Marguerite will give you a copy so you can scan it into public comment. Thank you.
Really quickly, I just want to go through the main points. The types of dispensaries are storefronts, dispensaries, and delivery. This is from Department of Cannabis Control. Hours of operation. And if you would turn to the second page, it says cannabis business rules are set at the local level by the state and by the city or county. State licensing issues license based on the type of activity that a business performs. State license types include cultivation, manufacturing, testing, distribution, and retail and microbusiness. City and county rules, each city and county can decide whether to license cannabis business in their area. They can license all cannabis businesses. They can license some types and prohibit others, prohibit all cannabis businesses. And just turn to the next page. This is also from the California's website. It says the purpose section 3D allow local governments, and this is underlined in orange, allow governments to ban non-medical marijuana businesses as set forth in this act. The AUMA recognizes the local power to regulate, but it specifically designates transportation and delivery as 2 limits on the local plenary power to ban. The rest of provision 2609 reads by a licensee. So that's just one thing. The next page says the police power to regulate businesses implies the authority to prescribe reasonable regulations. However, a restriction must bear a reasonable relation to some legitimate purpose. A regulation must be issued to advance the public welfare. A municipality cannot impose unnecessary restrictions on lawful businesses or occupations through the exercise of a police power. And then on the next little pamphlet, this is my cannabis business tax. This is the license I've been telling you guys about, that no, you don't have to have local approval. You don't need to be licensed through the DCC, but you can operate nonprofit out of my yard with local approval to cultivate for personal medical use, which Colfax does allow.
So these are just a couple of my cannabis tax returns. I never made any money. I just filed them and I had the tax return. I was actually looking up excise taxes on a Vineyard's website and was directed to this and was able to sign up to get my cannabis tax through the Department of Tax.
Tim, can I clarify? You feel fully comfortable with these documents being entered into the public comment?
It's fine.
Okay.
And then so this is where the M-type license is derived out of. That's why I'm getting to. So if you turn the page after the tax forms, it has patient cultivation, permits qualified individual patients to receive exemptions from the state licensing program if cultivating less than 100 square feet for personal medical use. That's the license I'm talking about. The next page is the actual law that applies to our business. And it says access to the licensed premises for a retailer with only an A designation shall be limited to individuals who are at least 21 years of age. Access to a licensed premises of a retailer with an M designation shall be limited to individuals who are at least 18 years of age and have a valid recommendation for cannabis, and individuals who are at least 21 years of age. And the next page just reiterates what the customer can do. You know, it's the customer that's designated and the product that's designated. It's not the retailer. They're a retailer and it's all commercial. On the last two pages is our business license application, and this was back in 2017. And if you look on the very last page, it shows you that it was marked as temporarily issued on 12/30/2017. So we had that. And the very last page is Colfax Municipal Code, Chapter 5-2. The following are the primary proposed changes that have been incorporated into Colfax Municipal Code. The maximum number of permissible retail licenses will be reduced to 1 medical. You didn't have the ability to reduce it to 1 medical after you already approved adult use for other businesses to come and apply. You gave that up. Okay. We had local approval in 2017. The state licensed us as adult use. They didn't know until, if you look at that very last page again, not the very last page, the last page with the licensing on there, it has the date of 5/3/2019. That's when the state changed our license type from temporary to provisional.
Okay.
And that's when someone from staff here sent the state whatever information was sent about us being Prop 215. And so our license is designated through the state from that move as a medical only. And we're not medical. We have customers that visit our store in person. And I think you guys, not you guys, I think city staff may have misinterpreted or misdirected city council. And I'd like to be able to have somebody look into that, because this is just these are my notes, and I know they're not that good, but I have a stack about this high of, I could just pull anything out and say, look, this is what's really supposed to happen. So
thank you. Tim, I have a quick question before you sit down. And this should be fairly simple. Is your goal to be designated as a type A license?
So designation is not what you guys decide. Right. It's how we operate our business back when licensing happens.
So per these definitions right here, which one of these three is it that you guys would like?
A commercial retailer.
Okay.
For cannabis, like we used to be.
So are you asking to meet the guidelines that are put on this page that you provided me under?
No, I'm asking you to look into the actual state laws, because they've all changed. They changed last week, and update your ordinance through repeal and amend the ordinance by resolution. Just like you changed it the first time, you can change it again.
Sorry, are you asking us to put the item back on the agenda? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, if that's what it takes. Really, I don't think it has to even, you guys could vote right now. And you can say,
we got an agenda.
Well, you could, legally you could, because you can repeal and amend the ordinance by resolution. You don't have to,
right, it does have to go on the agenda though, because we have to accept public comment on the item.
Well, the public's here and they're online.
But see, here's the Brown Act. The Brown Act requires that people have 72 hours preliminary notice to know that they need to show up, to know that they get to comment on an item if they care about it. So For that reason, if you are asking of us to put it on the agenda,
Yes.
we will not unfairly deny you an opportunity to have a discussion. We're not going to unfairly treat you guys any different than anyone else who asks for something to be agendized. If you have a majority of council who'd like to agendize it, we can do that. And then we can have a discussion. And what I'd like to understand, if that discussion goes forward, I'd like to understand based on, and I'll circle the page, what I'm asking. I'd like to understand what it is exactly you're asking for so that I do not misunderstand if this discussion goes forward.
I'm asking for to be treated like an American citizen without depriving me of my rights.
Mhm.
That's what I'm asking.
So I'll follow up with you with the clarification, but to your ask of if we can agendize the conversation, at this point, I'm going to ask, does council support agendizing an item to discuss an ordinance change related to what's being requested?
For the vision of the end goal.
Okay.
Like you said, if public's requesting something, then we need to
Yeah,
put it on the
I
agenda,
agree.
so.
How do you feel, Kim? And then I need Marnie after Kim. What they're asking for. Marnie?
Are we in public comment right now? Because I'd like to know what Mick thinks about this, and I'm just trying to digest what he was talking about, state laws changing.
Right.
Yeah, the question before the council now really is whether they want to entertain a discussion of what Tim is asking for. And the question that was posed to you is, are you in favor of having that discussion or not? So the council can get a clear understanding of what they're requesting.
Yes.
Okay, and so my question to you then is this allowable in public comment to respond to who's coming up to the podium? Because then I can give my answer.
Yeah, yes, it is permissible during public comment to place something on a future agenda for discussion.
Okay, so yeah, I'll go with it. I want to hear what he has to say, and I want to look a little bit deeper into state laws.
Okay, so I'd like to direct staff to put this on the February agenda because the January, it's really too soon and there's a lot going on that agenda. So I'd like to look at putting this on the February agenda, the first meeting of February, if that's agreeable to council. And then that way you guys have time to give us some clarification.
Yep.
What's this? When you say put this on the agenda, is there a way to clearly define what this is?
So it sounds like sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
It sounds like what he's asking is for us to bring back our ordinance and make a determination of whether we want to just make a determination of the change.
Just maybe you guys could like bargain a little bit and get something out of it. Because right now you got nothing, right? I mean,
So to be clear,
I know
anything that comes to revenue, taxes, anything like that would have to go to a ballot measure.
Okay.
So I'm not interested in that part really. But what I would like to do though is just take a look at our current state law, because as you said, there have been changes.
Oh, yeah.
And I do want to make sure that we have not put ourselves in a position where we're going to end up in lengthy, expensive litigation, as we have done so many times before, that the city cannot afford to keep doing. So I think it's very worthwhile discussion that we should take a look at that, make sure that we're in alignment with the law and go from there. So thank you so much for bringing this forward. Does council have any additional questions?
If that's what this is, then I'm open to discussing. I guess checking out the ordinance and having a discussion around that. If that's what
Whether we want to
And
change
this is not us giving any direction.
retail designations.
Sure, I think the valid point.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Mick, I got a question here. He highlighted 5400B in the packet here. It's like the it's the fifth page in the stapled packet.
Right.
5400B. So it says access to licensed premises of a retailer with only an M designation shall be limited to individuals who are at least 18 years of age and have a valid medical recommendation. And it also says though, and individuals who are at least 21. Is that clarifying that they don't have to have a valid medical recommendation to get in there? Can you?
If you're 21 years or older, you do not need to have.
So basically
go into the premises.
Right.
And purchase.
Well, see, that's where we might have an issue.
Licensed premises.
There's
Yeah.
honestly, guys, there's no issue. I mean, if you.
No, I'm saying an issue with our license, our ordinance.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're
We need to make sure we're compliant.
on the right.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. February first week or whatever. It's first Wednesday. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you then.
On your pages, regulation of business, you heard like police power and stuff like that. Can you clarify that?
Well, when the state granted police power to the cities and counties to be able to take on cannabis regulations in their own local power, that's the power they were given. And that power is for the cities to enforce the Constitution of the United States. It's not to deny businesses their rights. That's what that police power is for. And that's what I mean by that.
But you're not implying the police power locally or otherwise, it's denying your right.
No, it's the policing it's the governing body's policing power. And I guess they use the police to enforce it. I don't really know how that works, but it's just a
I think
definition.
if I understand correctly, he's saying by our specific direction.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Do we have any other public comment here this evening? Please come on up. Oh, sorry. I'll take the gentleman with the tie. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Diane. I think maybe in the future, we might need to start taking calling cards so that I can be organized and not trip over everybody.
It's all good. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Mark Riffey, and I'm the Director of Customer Service for Pioneer Community Energy. I'm also a resident of Placer County, just outside of Auburn, a little bit down the hill from you all here. Pioneer Community Energy is a locally owned nonprofit electric provider powering the communities we serve, including Colfax, with competitive rates, reliable service, and a choice of energy options. Pioneer has been serving the region for 5 years, and actually Colfax is one of the co-founders of the agency. And the focus of our board has resulted in over $40 million in our customer savings during that time. Our governing board, which includes representation from Colfax, which currently is Wes Heathcock, approved Pioneer's 2023 rate changes that supports a 15% discount when compared to PG&E's generation portion of the bill. This is expected to result in more than $500,000 in direct savings for Colfax customers and over $46 million in savings for customers in Placer and El Dorado County. And that is just in 2023 alone. A Colfax household that is considered an average user of electricity, which is 650 kilowatt hours per month, will save over $185 per year with Pioneer. However, as a reminder, we like to remind everybody that we sell the electricity, but PG&E still provides the natural gas, the transmission, and the distribution costs. High natural gas prices today are driving all of our utility bills up, and we all know that, and we all see that every month. With that, we'd like to give you a few pointers of what you can do around your house and your business to help save money. Obviously, the first thing customers can do on the electric side is to sign up for Pioneer and start taking advantage of these savings immediately. On top of that, our website provides residents and businesses with low to no cost energy saving tips. This is gas and electric tips. Every effort we take as individuals has a lasting effect. Doing simple things such as turning off your lights, adjusting your thermostat, or screwing in a couple of LED light bulbs will save on your monthly utility bills. And finally, and probably most importantly, our website has information for those customers and residents and businesses that are experiencing financial hardship. This section provides information of state programs which are administered by PG&E, but Pioneer customers can take advantage of. And that's in many different areas, including bill repayment and other categories such as that. So we encourage folks to look at that. For customers wishing to join Pioneer or have questions on any of these other topics, they can simply call our office or visit our website. Our website is pioneercommunityenergy.org. Our phone number is 844-937-7466. And today, Colfax has well over 85% of their residents and businesses that are taking advantage of these savings. And with that, that concludes my first part of my comment, but I did want to follow up, and we have 5 minutes here in Colfax, so I'm not worried about my time. Just to follow up, we talked about with our personal safety and stuff of that nature. We all greatly appreciate and respect fire and police and whatnot, but I've been going to these different city councils, and one thing I've noticed is we're forgetting is our line crews that are out there, especially up here in the foothills. I don't have to explain to the mayor about that. I've been in this industry for well over 20 years, and line crews deal with a lot of situations that, quite frankly, are life-threatening. And so when you see folks out there working on trying to bring power back to your house, please don't get mad at them. They're working very hard. Folks come in from out of the state even to help support that. So appreciate the effort that they're putting out there for that. And then on the comment with regards to down power lines and poles, I've again been able to see a lot of situations that were unfortunate. Always assume a down power line is live. Never assume it's turned off. And if you think you're far enough back up another 100 yards, and never, ever get out of your car and step on the ground anywhere remotely near a power line. The earth is a conduit of electricity. It is unforgiving, and none of us want to see that happen to any of our neighbors. So please, extra caution with down power lines. And with that, I'm done. And I'll thank you all very much. And we look forward to a great year with Colfax.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
You too. Diane?
I want to thank PG&E because all this weather and the storms, we didn't have any outage at Shady Glen and that whole area. We're like, what? It's crazy. I would like to remember when Weimar came down and talked about the doctors and the administrators, and they brought families and kids, and they came in and talked about the harmful effects of marijuana. I don't know how anyone cannot be intelligently reading and doing research and not know that there are adverse effects of marijuana on anybody. Done it, been there, know about it. Here's an article, though, a different point of view, from Health and Wellness. It talks about stoned California seniors heading to the ER by the thousands. UCSD study says. Never thought about the old folks. Well, I'm one of those guys, though I haven't done it for years because I know what it does to you and I'm my family. So I'm going to read some of this, if it's okay. Stoned seniors, let's see. Stoned seniors, and we're not talking about high school kids, although we are visiting emergency rooms for cannabis-related reasons in unprecedented numbers, according to a new study by UC San Diego researchers. According to the study conducted by the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine, just 366 Californians over the age of 65 visited ERs in 2005 for cannabis-related reasons. By 2019, that figure had skyrocketed nearly 3,200%, when 12,107 and 67 seniors made trips to the emergency rooms for that reason. While a law was passed by the state way back in '96 approving the use of medical marijuana, a second law was passed in 2003 clarifying the legislation prior to its becoming more widespread. Recreational use of marijuana was approved by the state voters in 2016. I'm going to try to cut some of this out because of my time. Many patients assume they aren't going to have adverse side effects from cannabis. So do kids. So does a lot of people. Because they very often don't view it as serious as they would a prescription drug, said Dr. Benjamin Han, a geriatrician who authored the study. I do see a lot of older adults who are overly confident saying that they know how to handle it. Yet as they have gotten older, their bodies are more sensitive and the concentrations are very different from what they were when they've tried it when they were young. Researchers recited a growing number of older adults experimenting with cannabis to help alleviate chronic symptoms, as responsible, in part, for the wave of ER visitors. Among other reasons, geriatricians will likely be concerned about studies findings due to the fact that older patients are at a higher risk for adverse health effects associated with psychoactive substances, according to the news release issued by UC San Diego this week. Although some older users are experimenting with the drug as a component of palliative care, I can say that right, others are using it recreationally, of course. Both groups, who researchers believe are under the impression that their risk of regular use is decreasing, are using marijuana in increasing numbers since 2005. Both have contributed to the spike in trips to the hospital. Cannabis can slow reaction time and impair attention, the news release states, which may lead to injuries and falls, increase risk for psychosis, delirium, and paranoia, exacerbate cardiovascular and pulmonary diseases, and interact with other prescription medications. My phone is all screwed up here. The study's authors would like to see medical professionals normalize discussions with older parents regarding cannabis use. And it goes on to talk about that. I'm not going to go on, but you get the picture. I didn't quite look at it this way. I do know that it can cause a lot of these problems. Is that my time?
It is. You can finish your thought really quickly, though.
Okay. With my own experience, with experiences I've seen in other people, I know that these things are true. And I think that we need to seriously consider legalizing any recreational marijuana dispensaries in our town, not only for our young people, but for our old. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane, could you do me a favor and send that copy of that link to Marguerite? I'm sure it would make her life much, much easier for entering public comment. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Come on up.
My name is Melinda Neal. I've been in Colfax for 16 years. I just want to do your research. Talk to an ER doctor. Talk to a CHP, fire department. They're out in the street. They see it. Think of safety. So please do your research. I feel that people that are struggling with marijuana, they're not being productive in life. They're not helping the community. Please do your research. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public comment section of the, oh, I'm so sorry, we have online.
We do have a comment. I think this was related to the agenda item that will be in February from Jane Gallagher. She states, is that the Colfax rule is outdated by the new California laws?
That is to be determined.
And then Tom Parnham states, please update the progress on the hotel.
Okay. Does that conclude public comment online?
And that concludes public comment.
Perfect. Okay, well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close public comment. We're going to move to council and staff reports, starting with Sean.
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay.
I was appointed to a committee, but my first meeting was canceled, so you're spared my committee report for today.
Thanks, Kim.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Marty?
Hi, yeah, I need more time to prepare, so I'll be more ready at the next meeting because I have a few reports to give out to the public. Thank you.
Sounds great. I also do not have anything at this time. I'm sure that the next meeting will probably be a bit more lively. On that note, we'll have Wes go ahead, and then Wes, if you can incorporate in your report if there's any updates on the hotel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tom Parham's request is timely. That was the item I wanted to provide an update to the council and the public. The Colfax Hotel submitted their building improvement plans approximately 2 weeks ago. Staff is in the process of reviewing those plans. We anticipate the first review to be done by next week and get a subsequent review from the applicant within the next month after they make any modifications, assuming there may be a few significant ones. There usually is on the first round. There's also additional items that the developer needs to work with the city on. One is the acquisition of the frontage of the property for their landing of their stairs. They also need to work on the deferment of the sewer fees that they're going to be requesting for council's approval. That's the mitigation fees. And the lastly is the parking requirements that they need for some offsite parking. for the city's parking lot. We need to work on that agreement as well. So we still have multiple items that we need to work with Leif Lowry, the developer of the Colfax Hotel, to get that up and running. Timing of actually getting their doors open is dependent on the developer's response time to some of these other outstanding items we have. Any questions on that item?
I'm not seeing any from council.
I apologize. My voice is a little off tonight, but Madam Mayor, I'm going to keep it short tonight, and that'll be the only item I'll discuss unless there's something else.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us. Wes is ill, so we appreciate his online attendance. Well, if you have nothing else, we do not have any council business this evening, so we'll move straight to go to the order. Sean, you got anything?
Nothing for tonight.
Okay, Kim?
Something short, the Hanson Brothers is closing. Some of you may have heard that. And I went over and talked to him, and the owner, Jeff, doesn't want to sell it. They want to lease it out, but they're keeping the north part from the road that goes in, the cement part open, but then the part on the other side of the road, they're going to lease out. And once they sell all their rocks and fertilizer and so on, they're not going to replenish it. But now might be a good time to get the blue light special and go over there and buy some items. Because I heard that they're reducing their prices.
Anything else, Kim?
That's enough.
Cool. David, you got anything?
I just want to say Happy New Year, and here's to hopefully a better year versus last year.
Absolutely. Marnie?
Oh, I have nothing for this item.
Perfect. Wes, do you think with everything going on with Hanson Brothers right now, we can maybe open up the discussion related to our acquisition of Railroad Street? See if there's any way we can try to maybe work something there for a connection?
That's interesting. It's almost like you've been listening to some of my conversations, but that was the next approach, given that the Hanson is now going to be moving on. I think the viability of getting the access through that property and up Central Street might be more viable. Staff will be pursuing that conversation in the coming months.
Yeah, I'd just like to scope that out and see if there's any viability there.
Been working on it. I've been pushing Wes really hard on getting that agreement in. Now, especially now that we've got some traction with UP on Railroad Street.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I don't think we should have to pay anything for Railroad Street, but that's just my opinion.
But as long as we get it.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, if no one else has anything they'd like to add for good of the order, we are adjourned.